Hello.
Hey there.
Hi.
Vi-
How are?
Good. How about you today?
I'm doing good. Uh, yeah. This is gonna be an interview for my class.
Oh,
Like I
cool.
said in the email.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I go to Berkeley, and yeah, this is just gonna be accessible by them. I'm gonna transcribe it onto like a like a document and then delete the video afterward.
Oh, okay.
So this is
Perfect. Yeah.
yeah, this is just for communication purposes.
Can you hear me okay or
Yeah, I can hear you great.
awesome. Well, good to meet you.
Good to meet you too, man.
Yeah.
All right. Um. Yeah, I guess we can get it started. Everything's working. Sorry, it took a while. Some
No worries.
some stuff
I had
wasn't working for me.
all good. Sorry I had to push it up too. I just had to get in a last minute dentist thing, so
No worries.
I appreciate you being flexible.
Yeah, sure. All right.
So, Cambridge then?
One more time.
Are you in Cambridge or Mass Boston?
So I'm doing the online program. I'm actually in California, but
Cool. Same
yeah,
here. Yeah.
heck yeah.
Aw-
Um. So yeah. Uh. Would you like to introduce yourself? Your name, title you might go by, degrees, awards of any sort.
Yeah, I mean, mostly my name's Aaron Ross, out of Grass Valley, California. Um, not, I'm trying to rack my brain. Not really any awards to speak of. Mostly, yeah, just been doing music and consider myself a songwriter first and foremost. And then a musician second. But yeah, I've been at it for like 25 years now, so just and I've lived in this town my whole life, so been playing here and regionally and just done tours and stuff too, but like for the most part, been playing in this town for like a good 25 years. So yeah, I mean that's
Hmm,
kind of the basis of just what I'm about, I guess.
heck yeah. Anything you'd like to like mention, like any projects you're working on or
Um
anything of sorts?
at the moment not really. I mean, this year I actually release or am releasing 3 albums, so like a trilogy I'm calling it.
Hmm.
And I've released 2 of them already, and they're all available everywhere you get music. But and then I have a third one that I'm releasing in December. So that's kind of the main thing that I've been focusing on this year. And then I also have a book coming out of like lyrics and poetry and stuff. Um, so that's coming out this year. So those are kind of my main focuses as far as like projects this year. I'm not really, I mean, through the years, I played with a lot of different people and had some other projects outside of like the music I write, by myself. But I haven't really been working on, I haven't had too many collaborative projects. I do have a collaborative album coming out next year that with me and this other band, local band. Um, so that we recorded it this year, but it will come out next year. So yeah, that's about, this year's gone by so fast, but that's kind of what I've been focusing on. So
Nice. Uh, yeah, I heard noir. Is that how you pronounce that?
yeah, I would.
The album you just released.
Yeah, that's my latest album, and that's part of the trilogy. That's the second album of the trilogy. So yeah.
Heck yeah, that one was great. I loved it.
Oh, thanks. I'm glad you heard it. Yeah, and yeah, it was in the songs. It's like probably my most personal album as far as like lyrically that I've ever really written. I can't talk right now, but I just got out of the dentist. But
Yeah.
yeah, the yeah, it's definitely like the lyrics are pretty personal for me. So it was kind of like almost like a therapy record, like something I kind of had to work through. So I feel good about it, and I'm stoked to get it out in the world, and
That's
stoked
good.
that people are liking it. So
All right. Uh, uh, how would you define the art that you create, or like how would you describe it if you could put it in words?
Phew. Yeah, I mean, I guess like yeah, I've always kind of been a creative person in some form or another, like mostly music and then also like, poetry, writing, um, but also like visual art too. Like that's kind of what I got started on was like visual art, but like kind of I guess it's always been for me like an outlet like to get those whatever it might be like inside of you out or just like ideas and maybe dreams daydreams you have or just whatever it is that's in your head or in inside of you. To me it's always been the best outlet to like to get it out of me. So I think like I don't know, I mean as far as like how I view it, that's kind of what it is for me. Like it's more of a, like I was saying about that other record, it's more of a therapeutic thing where it's like I feel like everybody should have an outlet to get like whatever feelings or emotions you're you know
Yeah.
experience out. I think a lot of people don't, which is unfortunate. But I'm glad for me. It's it's always been art for me and being creative. As far as like if I was like trying to sell myself to other people, like what I would describe my art as is like I don't know. Um, yeah, I mean, I would hope that people would kind of get, it's kind of like feels like all my stuff kind of has a thing about like redemption about it, like I realized recently a lot of my art and music has to do with death, which like I don't know why. I mean, people think I'm kind of like focused on death, but like I just think it's something that, it's a big thing that faces the human condition, and it's something we kind of all have to like, wrestle with. And so I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's kind of like there's like equal, I guess like death and rebirth has kind of like always been the focus of like all my art, so probably how I describe it.
Yeah. Would you say like genre wise, would it be like bluesy folk? I've seen that being thrown around here and there.
Yeah, for a lot. Yeah, that's definitely accurate, especially for like my like earlier stuff, like was definitely more bluesy folk. Yeah, I mean, I usually say just singer songwriter just because it kind of can encompass a lot of different genres. I feel like, so like that's kind of my main thing is just like writing songs. But I have done like, I mean, I do have albums that are more like electronic or like more like rock and roll or, um, kind of, I'm influenced by all different types of things. So it's, yeah, I think like, I always just say singer songwriter because it kind of, even though that, I guess kind of people associate that with folk too or country, but yeah, I don't know.
All right.
Sorry, man. I'm not the best at articulating sometimes. So
No, no,
sorry if.
you're great. I think it's just my own like sort of nervousness, you know.
No, no, you're doing great talking to you.
First time conducting an interview.
Yeah, I've never conducted one, but I could imagine. Yeah, I've always thought about that because I listen to a lot of interviews and sorry, my computer light went out, but I listen to a lot of interviews and so yeah, I've always thought of like what I would ask, certain people questions or whatever. I imagine it's different.
Yeah. Especially with like the pressure that it's like for school too, you know, not just for myself and others or whatever, you know.
Right. Oh, totally. I didn't think of that. Yeah, that gives it a whole another thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, uh on to the next question. What was your like artistic journey like? You know, what was it like traversing and what paths did you take?
um. Yeah. I mean, like I said, I've been at it like artistic stuff. I've been kind of just as long as I can remember. Like my earliest memories are like kind of being drawn to like people that did art or music. Like was always kind of like whoa. and music especially, like kind of grew up in a household where music was pretty, being played a lot. And so like I was kind of had an early introduction to music. And um but yeah, and then I just kind of like I started playing when I started writing and performing music when I was about like 14 or so. Um and then yeah, I just kind of what started off playing in like punk bands and stuff, and then just kind of progressed into more of just like a purely just like a songwriter and performing like by myself solo. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as like the path that I took, probably not. I mean, everybody, like it's been tough because like there's been a lot of like moments where I could have took the road where like maybe not instant success, but more success would be more likely as far as like, I'm talking like, as far as like the world's can view success, like, you know, uh, I don't know, just being like on a record label or touring or all that stuff that comes with like, what you would think of being a professional musician.
Mm.
But yeah, it's like it was tough because like I always wanted to stay like genuine and make the have the art be the focus, and not like pretentiously, but like just kind of like what so I could think there was a lot of times where I kind of like chose the long road. It's definitely been the long road for me because I'm still like I said, 25 years in, and I've have experienced moderate, not even moderate, probably like mild success from music, like made a little money but not a lot, and played some cool shows and got to work with some cool people. And but definitely like it's hard. I mean, I guess like that's kind of what I would always recommend to people is like if you're on this journey yourself, is like stay true to yourself and like whatever that means. But like I realize that in my case, it's not exactly the easy or the shorter path to success, I think. But I don't know. I guess it just kind of depends what someone's looking to get. But like for me, yeah, I just kind of always all my favorite art and music has always been the stuff that is like maybe even didn't even achieve success like in the artist's lifetime, like like Van Gogh or something, like but like it still has like a magic and a beauty to it that people for like however long infinite amount of time are like appreciating it and valuing it. So I kind of always wanted to be that as opposed to like someone who's like gets successful really quick and then
Yeah.
kind of burn out quick too. So I don't know, that was just my experience. I know it's always different for everyone,
Yeah.
but
Um.
yeah, I don't know if that answered the question really.
No,
Sorry, man.
that was good. That was good.
Okay, cool.
Uh. Any like particular like achievements or successes you got to, or any failures you came across that sort of helped shape you in that journey?
Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, there was a lot of like, I mean, I try not to think of anything as like, even though like I definitely have a fear of failing and failure, as I'm sure many do, but I try not to view as far as like artistically things as failures, but like you're saying, like learning from them more and using them as like a lesson. Um, but yeah, there was definitely a lot of those moments where I was just kind of naive. I didn't really think of like I just early on I just wanted to be not like I wanted to be famous, but I just wanted to be like a touring musician who was putting out records and people were buying them, and I just wanted to be doing that. Like that's all I kind of thought about, and I just thought it would be like easier and like kind of instantly be able to get it, but like it's not, it doesn't really work that way. But like anyways, yeah, there was definitely some failures as far as like not really thinking things like signing contracts and not really like reading them or thinking like, what does this entail? Oh, it means that I don't own my masters, or a lot of that's happened to a lot of people where they've signed away their rights essentially to their music because they weren't, either they were young and not paying attention, or they just whatever, they didn't read it or whatever. But there was a lot of those moments for me, which I would definitely advise people to, especially if you're signing contracts, just make sure you're know what you're signing and what it entails for you. And But as far as achievements, yeah, there's definitely been some good ones. Like I got to work with this band Hella that I was a fan of, and that was a pretty well known like band out of Sacramento,
Yeah.
and had the experience to work with them and be on a record and like go on tour with them and kind of get an insight into like what it's like to be a professional musician. And that was really cool. I kind of consider that a pretty good achievement as far as my career, like being able to experience that. Yeah, I mean, I've haven't really achieved like a lot of stuff as far as like being in a ton of magazines or I guess blogs now or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, just little things like had a couple years ago got my song into a commercial, so that was cool to finally kind of get some sync licensing happening because I've heard a lot of people say, especially now, it's like kind of really the only way that a artist musician can make money. So from music is like licensing. So
Yeah.
that was cool. That felt like a pretty good achievement. Like I mean, obviously 20 years later from starting, but you know, never too late, I guess. But and yeah, I mean, there's been other little things like cool shows I got to play and tours and stuff. I feel pretty grateful because I know like a lot of people go their whole careers and never get that. So I feel pretty lucky that I got that stuff. I mean, I think there's definitely been times where I have been ungrateful and kind of like, I wish more would have happened or whatever. But I don't know. Yeah, it's not really trying to be grateful for what I've experienced. But uh, yeah, I think it's kind of the main ones I can think of. Yeah, other than that, just like being able to record my albums and or have them recorded in a studio or whatever it may be. Like they're all different, but just the ability to record the albums that I have, I feel lucky to, I feel like that's a pretty good achievement for me. So I think that's about it that I can think of. Yeah.
And through working with like people and stuff, you mentioned Hella and other projects. Do you have any like educational moments or experiences that kind of helped also build up your, I guess, like skill set?
Oh yeah, yeah. A lot of that, like I mean, yeah, both like by working with Hella was really a kind of groundbreaking moment for me. Like just because they were like these insane musicians, like they were just like they're so good at their instruments, and it was just kind of like a whoa. And just like they have this like their music was so kind of like experimental and like far out there that kind of helped me to kind of like open my mind to like what music could be or even songs, what songs can be. Cause like I was kind of more, coming from like more of like a punk rock background, I was more kind of traditional song, first chorus. But like after playing with them, there was definitely kind of opened my mind. And it, also a lot of the music that was kind of being made around the same time was like very mind expanding. And so it was kind of, that was definitely an educational moment. And then, yeah, like playing some bigger shows with them where there was, that was my first experience playing in like some bigger venues and kind of seeing that side of things, like how it's definitely like I had to step my game up. It's like, okay, this is super professional. And, like all the sound people are like, real technically like, just like the next level. So did that kind of, you know, I learned a lot through that. And then as far as just like performing and like how to like be professional when you show up at venues and all that kind of stuff. Um, and then after like after I worked with that band, I worked with Spencer from Hella. We had a project together called Solos, and we recorded an album with this guy, Guy Massey from the UK, who worked at Abbey Road for a while and stuff. And he's just like amazing engineer. But he taught me a lot about like just like yeah mixing and recording and I learned a lot from him just like on the techniques of recording, but especially just like getting good tones and things like that. Like I learned a lot of like recording tricks from working with him. So yeah, and then yeah, just through the years, people you just by talking to people, it's like other musicians, you just pick up little things here and there, just little techniques and stuff. But yeah, those are the ones that come to mind.
Did you record your own solo albums?
Most of them I have since like two set or I think my first one, I lose track, but I think my first 5 albums were recorded either by friends or in studios, and then everything past that I've recorded. So yeah, it's been a process. Like I listen back to the early ones now, and I've even like remixed them recently, but um, I listen to them now, and I feel like every album I learned more and kind of learned how to do it better, how to make things sound better. So sometimes it's hard for me to listen to the older or the older ones for me that I did, because I do get kind of cringy sometimes, like
Yeah.
or because I also equipment too. Like I've gotten better equipment through the years and better microphones and all that kind of stuff. And you just learn stuff, and it's just like I wish I knew that when I back then, but
Yeah.
just is what. But I guess that's how it goes. You keep learning, you keep finding new ways to do it. So
Yeah, it's the only sort of way of like solving that dilemma of like, you know, I wish I could have known that before. You just keep going on.
yep,
Yeah.
cause and effect, definitely.
Um, were there any other experiences that kind of prepared you for the work aside from like uh, touring and meeting people when recording with, Spencer or with Hella?
Like it's prepared me for like just like doing or like just doing the music and keeping at it.
Yeah,
Um,
like maybe like advice from other folk or any sort of wisdom.
yeah, I had a lot of people like early on that I mean, yeah, that kind of helped me, like either people that I played music with, or like I had some people that were through the years that would just kind of like um take me under their wing, so to speak, and just kind of like mostly just kind of support me and like encourage me to like keep doing what you're doing and stuff. Like I had a lot of people or a few people and like some close friends. Like I have one of my friends, he actually produced my album. It's called Shapeshifter. It's like one of my fourth album, and he's always been like someone that I can kind of like, I'll always send him like stuff that I'm working on and be like, hey man, what do you think? And he's always someone I like really trust, his advice and his pointers and stuff. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely been like, other than that, for me, it's been a lot of just like I was saying earlier, I watched like so many interviews, and obviously before the internet was a thing and YouTube, I would like just like, yeah, watch documentaries. I love documentaries, music documentaries and stuff, because I would just get like, and or I'd read like a lot of magazine interviews and stuff, just kind of trying to feel like my favorite artists, like what was their path. And not that I wanted to copy them, but just kind of like that's where I feel like I got a lot of my preparation as far as like, you know, as far as like how I was kind of gonna navigate, was just from like the people that I was influenced by. So that was a big one.
Uh, mind if I ask what who those influences were? If you could name off a few.
Oh yeah, so many, so many. But yeah, I mean, oh, like I'm thinking from that, like when I started playing music, or I mean, not when I started, but when I started, like when I started making records and stuff and writing songs, it would have been like, I mean, number one, like Bob Dylan was probably the first artist that kind of like got me like there's a few like Elliott Smith, Bob Dylan, Neil Young, like songwriters that I was like, oh, okay, like got me really into like uh writing songs, and then just kind of also like performing solo acoustic. I was like, okay, I don't need like a band behind me. I can just perform solo acoustic, which was like kind of, door opening for me. those around that time period. But I mean, there's been so many artists. I just love music. Yeah, so I'm like constantly, especially now, like I have a job where I just like listen to music all day long, and so it's just like I'm constantly listening to all kinds of different things. But like through the years, I mean, like when I was working with Hella, like I was super into like Animal Collective was like one of my favorite artists at the time. Like anything, I don't know. Through the years, it kind of evolves, and I like there's different artists that really stoke me out. But I mean, early on, obviously, like probably my earliest influence would be like the Beatles. I mean, I know that's kind of cliche answer, but that's just my earliest memory of like music and a band that kind of like that I remember from like early, maybe like 5 or 6 or something. Like
Hmm.
it's the it's the earliest thing I remember being like, whoa, what is this? And then obviously like I love Nirvana is like probably another one of my favorite bands ever, and because like around the time that I started playing music was like when Nirvana was big, so that kind of got me psyched to like even start a band and start playing music. So I mean, yeah, through the years, there's always been these artists that kind of like you know kept me going, got me inspired. I got really into the band Wilco for a while, like early on. A lot of my early records, I feel like, are influenced by them too. So much stuff. Yeah, I could go on for days. But yeah, that's just right off the top of my head. But
All right. Um, so real quick, I want to end the interview briefly and get another meeting started because I think the 40 minutes are like almost up.
yeah, that's I know how that goes. Yeah, no
Yeah.
worries.
All right. I'm gonna send you the link. And
Okay, cool. This
all right.
one's gonna end. We'll start a newie.
Yeah. Or
Okay.
I think we have time for like one more question maybe.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
good with that.
Uh, what are your what would you say your like greatest accomplishments are being in through your time being an artist so far?
Whew. So far, my like if I was to pick one, it'd probably be like just like I feel like I mean I have like over I think 150 songs now, and which like to me is like a pretty good just to have like that repertoire can't talk um of songs. Like I feel good about that because like I don't know, I'm like if I keep going, you know, not like it's a competition or sport or anything, but I'm just like I feel like as far as like a songwriter, like having already, because like I look at the people like that have been at it a long time and however many songs they have, maybe it's 500 or more or 1,000 or some artists have like yeah thousands of songs, but I'm just like yeah I don't know. It stokes me out to know that I've written that many songs that are out there in the world, and be it small, I mean it's still they're out there, and that just makes me happy knowing that like the history of music and songs and you know just knowing that I'm part of that somehow. So I'd say that.
All right, I'm gonna end it real quick and then we'll get back to it.
Sounds great. See you in a few.
See ya.